Welcome to Black Woman Leading the podcast. I'm Laura Nice, your host and the founder of BlackWomanLeading.com. Today we're talking about embracing your gifts with Alanna Thomas. Now, if you want some insight on how you can really put language to your God-given gifts, that's that secret sauce that's been with you for some time. It's not what you learned in college or on the job. It is intrinsic to you. If you want some insights about how to identify that for yourself, how to amplify that in your work as a leader and in your collaboration with others, and then how to help to leverage the gifts of other people that you're collaborating with to really go for the goals that you all are working together, then you need to keep listening. Let's get into it. Black woman leading. Black woman leading. This podcast amplifies the needs and experiences of Black women leaders in the workplace with a holistic focus on 3 core areas: leadership development, mental wellness, and relationship management. Our ultimate aim is to help Black women learn, heal, and grow in their leadership capacity. All right. Hey, everybody. Today we're talking about embracing your gifts with Alanna Thomas. Hey, Alanna, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you. I'm excited to get into this topic because it's a topic that I love to talk about as well. But let me give the listeners your official bio here. So Alanna Thomas is the founder of Lighthouse Leadership Company. Over the past 8 years, she has helped hundreds of leaders increase their confidence and implement growth plans for their teams. Moving organizations from chaos to clarity with her GROW framework has led her to her end goal of happier and more aware spouses and parents at home after the workday is over. And so love that, here at Black Woman Leading, we talk a lot about heart and head work and how as a leader, your leadership is really intertwined with your life, right? It's not separate from your life. So love this topic of embracing your gifts. Alanna and I met, which I actually was surprised because you hit me to it. We reconnected on LinkedIn recently, but oh my goodness, Alanna, what was that? 5 years ago?
It really has been that long, yes.
Something like 6 years ago. I have to shout out my brother, Leon Rogers, my big brother, who was running an organization or leading an organization with the United States Army called the Rocks. And he asked me to come and help facilitate some strategic planning kind of sessions for the leadership team of this organization. Alanna was involved in that. And that was maybe like 6 years ago, because I remember the house that I was in, and I've been in 2 houses since then and have bought this one. So it's like the houses are the markers. But we reconnected on LinkedIn. Alanna is a sponsor for our upcoming conference, which is exciting. And when we talked and connected and I heard about the work she was doing and asked her, what has really been moving you? What's really been inspiring you? And she talked about this topic of really embracing your gifts, your God-given gifts, those things that have been with you for some time that maybe you didn't learn from your training, right? They have been with you. And how do we really embrace those and amplify those? So I thought it was a beautiful topic, very much in line with this season. And we want to tap into some of Alanna's wisdom on it. So before we start talking about embracing your gifts, Alanna, I always ask all of our guests, what does the phrase Black Woman Leading mean to you? And can you just share a little bit about your journey as a real life Black woman leading and how you kind of came to do this work in leadership development?
Absolutely.
Days?
Okay. So first, I want to go back and say absolutely. As time moves, also being in the military, like houses is how I remember what time frame something was in. Like, where did I live in that time? Because there's lots moving around here too.
Yes.
But when I hear the phrase Black women leading or Black woman leading, honestly, I have very high expectations. Like, I know that whatever it is, if there is a Black woman leading it, that it's probably going to be like pretty top notch. We are going to make sure that when we are tied to something, that it is done well. There's something culturally, I think, that Black women just kind of are raised with, when if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right. or the expectation of that
Yes.
if you do something, people are expecting it to be wrong. So you might as well put the icing on the cake and like make it extra good. Like that is
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I think of. I think of something or an organization being ran with excellence and having that high
Mm.
expectation, because we do sometimes have to show up twice as hard and be twice as efficient and all those other things. And there's also a nurturing aspect of being a Black woman that I also think carries over into Black women leading. And so
Yeah.
that's what I think of when I hear it. I think of success.
Yeah, yeah. So tell a little bit, just to give the listeners a bit of a context about you, kind of this journey that's led you. I know you have been in the leading in the military and a mom and a wife and all these different amazing roles. But how did you come to do this work with the work you're doing with leaders and
Absolutely.
teams?
So when I first graduated, I went to University of North Florida. I graduated and I had my first job before I actually crossed the stage, which has always been like the goal. Like, yes, like secure the job. So when everybody asks, "What are you doing next?" Like
Yeah,
you have an answer, like a real answer. And so my
yeah,
first job was working for Target, amazing corporation. Was really excited to jump into that role. And once I got there, the leadership that I experienced um, was a little concerning for me at the time. And I could see the difference
yeah,
in
yeah.
how I was being led versus how some of my peers were being led. And it kind of created a gap in my experience. I
Mm.
could be in the exact same role as somebody else. And what I realized is that there were certain things that I was doing where I would get whatever the conversation is documented on paper. And then one of my peers would do the same thing. And then for her, the conversation was kind of like, nah, just don't do that again. And so when I realized
Yeah,
that somebody was looking out for her that wasn't looking out for me, I was like, okay, hold on, there's things are off a little bit here. And then same with on the military side. So around that same time, I was working in the National Guard and full time. And so my full time corporate job, like I said, was Target. My National Guard job, graduated, commissioned as an officer, and then I was in this leadership role, and the person that was supposed to be leading me had been doing the job himself for so long that he kind of forgot I was there and that his job was to train me. And
uh,
so here I am on
mhm.
two different lanes having to figure this thing out by myself. And so that's actually one of the reasons why I really started digging into leadership, because I was like, there's something that I'm missing that other people shouldn't have to figure out along the way, which is when
Yeah,
so eventually I found Rocks and other organizations like that that help me learn what leadership is and how to do that. And it
yeah,
just kind of shaped my mission to make sure that I'm able to help other people not figure it out the hard way. Like a source where
yeah.
maybe the person that's supposed to teach you how to be a leader, hopefully they are doing their job. But if not, you still have a space where you can come and you can learn those things. And that's kind of, I was just out there
Yeah.
floating.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's really interesting because when we look at a lot of the research around Black women and their desire to continue advancing in leadership, there's often a link, and we've seen this in several research reports where Black women saying, I wanted to move up in leadership or learn about leadership or become a leadership consultant because I wanted to pull some other people up, or I wanted to, it's linked to service a lot of the times, as a direct linkage to what we hear common from Black women. So it's that servant leader kind of mindset. Like, I got the short end of the stick, but everybody don't need to get it
Right.
like this. So what can I do? And I love that your story kind of mirrors that as well. I love it. Okay, so when we talked and we were like, what do we want to talk about on this podcast? You brought up this topic around embracing your gifts. So I love to ask you from your vantage point, especially with a lot of the work that you're doing now. When you talk about embracing your gifts, what do you mean? Two-part question. What do you mean by embracing your gifts? And why do you feel like it's really important for leaders, and in our case, Black women leaders, that's our audience, to understand the power of their God given kind of gifts and talents?
Absolutely. So when it comes to embracing your gifts, that first part is really understanding who God has created you to be. We all have our own natural
Mm.
footprint or fingerprint, and like there's a way that God created us to be, and there's spaces that He created for us to be in. And not until we can really embrace those things are we allowed to truly be our authentic self. Once upon a time, I used to talk about being like a carbon
Mm.
copy of others, like carbon copy leadership. And I can't lead the way that you can lead. I can't lead the way that even my husband leads. He's also in the leadership space. There's so many different leadership types that a lot of times I think we find ourselves when we're trying to figure out what our individual leadership style is, we try to emulate others instead of saying, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm really good at discerning. So let me lead from that space. Let me lead from the space of I come up with really good ideas all the time. Like I can lead in this space, but we just try to fit ourselves into a box. And that really handicaps us because like, again, I don't get the joy from doing the things that you were created to do because I wasn't created to do that. That's what you were created to do. And so leadership in that space is really just knowing and owning who you are as how our creator God has called us to do and how to be and to just kind of operate in that space. So that's the first part of your question.
Yeah. 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 And would you say, like, as you think about a lot of our listeners are Black women leaders, right? What do you think that kind of understanding the power of those gifts, right? How does that enable us or empower us? What you say?
I think it gives us the confidence. I think it gives us the confidence that we need to show up in those spaces. As Black women, we're showing up. It's so many different things. As we mentioned, we're mothers, we're spouses, we're sisters, we're daughters, and there's so many different hats that we have to have on. And when we can truly just embrace that role, whatever our secret sauce is, it gives us the freedom just to relax. Because I'm not stressing myself out when I'm flowing. We all want flow. Like flow seems like a
flow state. Like
right. We want all the things to come naturally, but when we're wondering why we're so like stressed out, it's because we're operating in spaces that aren't ours, and we got enough of that going on around us. It's a place where we get to just truly be our authentic self, and it doesn't matter what other things are coming up against us. Like if you're good at something, you're good at something. Run with it.
Yeah. What would you say, just to give people some examples, what are some of your kind of gifts that you say? I know I have a few in my head for me, but I'd love to hear what are some of the gifts that you feel like these are like unique to you, they've been with you for some time. What are those
for me? Discernment is one and enablement is another. Those are my two like super unique gifts. For discernment, I feel it. I know I can discern stuff all day long. And just if something can come to me and I'm just naturally going to ask the questions. And the way that shows up is when I ask those questions, these are things that other people haven't thought about. And so when it comes to being able to live in that space of discernment, I'm adding value to whatever organization I'm in because that's that secret sauce that I have. And when I own that, I think at one point, and I know we talked about this before, understanding that by having this secret sauce, this unique gift of discernment that I do have, I'm able to help people reach their goals. But I have to know the difference between somebody that wants to reach their goals and they want help and somebody that does not want help. They just want to share what they're doing and where they're going, and they don't really want any feedback. So the difference there was pretty eye-opening because it's like, I'm not attacking you. I'm trying to help you. But if you don't want the help, like...
They're like, I want your help, even though you could see how they could get there quicker. They didn't want that. Right. What about the other one, enablement? Tell us a little bit.
So enablement is along the lines of if somebody needs help, like I can give you a game plan like it's nobody's business. I can find whatever it is you need. Like we need research. Okay, cool. Like you tell me where you want to go and like we can figure this out together. That is something that like I just, again, as a unique gift, it comes naturally. It's not draining. It's not something that is going to tug on me. It's just something that literally can be done all day, all night without a second thought. I think when we operate in those spaces that aren't ours, like it starts to wear us out, and we get to that we're closer to burnout than anything else because we can do it. Like it's cool, but it's not that unique gift.
It's de-energizing. Exactly. When I think about some of mine, and I usually think about things that's been I can look back and they've been with me since childhood, really. I think about like facilitating community. So I look at different, now it's kind of part of my work. It's actually part of the brand of Black Woman Leading and the work we do. But I even think about like younger as a teenager, when I was a teenager, I was like a mentor for other young, not a mentor, like a tutor that became like a big sister for elementary school girls. And I remember I would be the common denominator of people. Like, so maybe y'all are here because y'all in my little tutoring program I came up with, right? But then when I would leave, those relationships would forge. I was the catalyst for those relationships. And I've seen that throughout my career, even like when I used to work at certain places, people that connected from like me as the shared networking tool. I left and went on, and then those people cultivated something from that kind of catalyst that I did. And that's been a common thing, like all throughout my life, that's been a common thing. That, and then just really strategy, being able to take a very high level thing and then build that out into a process. I remember doing that as a teenager for people. Like I had little side businesses that like literally, it's just always been a skill set. So I like to bring those real examples because as people are listening and thinking about their own things, there might be things that because they've been with you for so long, you don't necessarily recognize them as a value add. It's just like, oh, that's just what I do. But it's like, that's magic because other people can't do that, right? Yeah. So what would you say? How can someone begin? Let's say someone's listening and they're like, okay, this is resonating, but I don't know if I have the language for what my gifts are. How can someone begin to identify their gifts beyond kind of like the obvious skills listed on a resume? Like what kind of clues should they look for in their life and their work that might indicate that this is like something that's special for you?
I think you really just said the biggest part of it is just taking a moment to stop and slow down and say, okay, well, what are some of the common threads or some of the things that it is that I've been doing? Or even asking whoever your closest friends are, ask them like, what is it that you go to? So as a discerner, like I get a lot of calls from my friends and they're like, all right, well, help me talk through this. What do you think? And so for those things, that kind of leads me to the space of understanding like, okay, well, I help people think things through. So from a coaching perspective, like coaching makes sense to me because that's, you got to help know how to discern those things. Also, if like you are really good with coming up with ideas, like that is just your thing that you do. Okay, well, now you can kind of look into seeing if that's something that actually brings you joy. Because again, when you're just doing it, there's a lot of stuff that we can do, but what things is it that you do? Even if you just kind of like have a journal for a little bit, maybe like a few weeks, and just think of what are you doing in your downtime, something that's coming naturally, and starting to see the pattern of whatever that is. That could be a great way to start to say, okay, well, what actually is my sauce? What is my gift that I might be overlooking?
So some indicators that you talked about is that one, you're known for that. People come to you for that type of support. And usually you see it a lot in your personal life, your friends, your family, they come to you for that type of support. You start to see it in your workplace too, once people get to know you. And then I also heard that it energizes you. It brings you joy. It doesn't feel burdensome for you. Those kind of things. Yeah. Okay. And then the piece I added that I often see with a lot of people is been with you for some time. If you look back, of course, it's going to look different for how I do that as a full grown woman now, right? But the seeds of it, I can look back to when I was a teenager, right? When I was a young person and see that the elements of that gift were there as well. Oh, okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. So what I did love this angle when we talked earlier, you talked about how many people can view, because of course it's been with them for so long, they can start to view their gifts negatively because of maybe past criticism. And a common one, like I have heard, people, you're naturally curious. You have a really curious mindset that leads you to figure out stuff, but you may have been told, you ask too many questions or you too nosy or something like that. So you don't see it as a value. It's something you actually start to downplay, right? So talk a little bit about that. How can we begin to separate those gifts or who we are from negative feedback we may have received about those things?
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
I think the biggest way is to look at it with fresh eyes. Start from today. Allow today to be the first day that you allow yourself to be naturally who you are. So if a question comes to you, so again, using myself as an example, as a discerner, when I ask questions, if somebody goes, "Man, you always shoot me down. You always got something negative to say." If I know that I just asked you a genuine question and there was nothing negative about it, then I can do one of two things. I could say, "Oh man, they are right. I am always shooting them down." Or I could say, "Okay, well, what does this mean? What does that look like?" And having that neutral space of, well, was it a negative question or was it a natural, like just a neutral question? And if it was a neutral question, like, let it be that. We can't let the negativity of everybody else, because a lot of people aren't going to do the work that we're doing. They're just not. And so they're not going to see the results and the fruit of that work and value it the way that we are going to value it as people who are doing the work. And so when we decide to have fresh eyes and to say, "Hey, I'm trying to figure out where my natural gifts are, what my natural gifts are." And honestly, I would say if it is something that people complain about, that might be a good start, that you going in the right direction, because you're just being yourself and it's bothering somebody, and they, that might be something to write down and be like, "All right, well, I did this today," and see if you do it again the next day or in the next coming days or however long you decide to look at it. But I would say start with a fresh slate, and that way you kind of erase any of the negativity that you have associated with the action, and just going from there. That's how you take note. You just start with a fresh slate.
Yeah. Is there any practices that, if you think back of your own experience, are there any like steps someone might need to take to kind of reclaim? Because sometimes that feedback has been hurtful, right? And could be an area that we need to heal, or we need to kind of reclaim or reframe. Just from your vantage point, if someone has been, maybe their gift has been shamed or minimized, are there any steps or that you would recommend that they might take to kind of do some of that healing work and maybe reclaim some of that so they can start to see the positive aspects of that?
I'm big on journaling. Of course, there's things like therapy and whatnot, but journaling in the sense of being able to like write a prayer down, write to God. And what I found for me is that when I have attached things in that way, if I'm writing a letter to God and I'm expressing how I feel, a lot of times what I've seen is that the words eventually shift from being my words to being His back to me, and to just be in a space where those things can get wiped clean just a little bit. Like, there'll still be smudges, because when things hurt, they hurt. A lot of things. I also do a lot of work with disc, and so I understand that there are certain wiring styles that criticism is like their greatest fear ever, and that's the majority of the population has a type of wiring where they do not receive criticism very well, and it's very hurtful. And again, that puts us in this space where it's kind of like, that might be a gift, but I got criticized for it. And so now we're smaller in those areas where we should be big and taking up space. And so, one, my heart right now is literally like going out to every single person with that feeling. And I just challenge you to give it a try. Give it a try. Write it out. Do therapy if that's what you need to. Talk to your best friend, your hype girl. Talk to your hype girl. I got one. I call her.
We all need one or two, right?
And give yourself permission to try again and to get back out there and see how it works for you.
Yeah, so it might be kind of getting quiet with yourself and kind of drowning out some of those voices. And then likewise I'm hearing you say, leaning into what are the affirming voices, your hype girl, your therapist, your time with God, right? And your prayer time, those affirming voices that help you to give the positive narrative back, right? Of who you are and the value that you bring. Love that. So let's talk about the when and the how, because I remember when we talked earlier, you were like, yeah, I was identifying my gift, but I had to figure out the right timing, the right, when to use this thing, when to really let it shine and all this kind of stuff. So let's say a person is identified. These are some of my God-given gifts, right? Talk a little bit about how we learn when and how to use it effectively, particularly in leadership and collaboration with other people.
Absolutely. So once you figure out what your gift is, where you think you got like your sweet spot, I think as Black women, we also all have this sense of, I don't know if anybody else grew up hearing their mama say this, but everybody ain't your friend. I know.
Yeah.
That is a common household comment, and really understanding, I would say be watchful. Be watchful of how you use it, because a lot of times it just takes one or two things for somebody to do, and somebody can come and out of spite, right? So we don't want to operate in a way where we're trying to avoid spite, but we do want to be wise in how we put ourselves out there. And so when it comes to how you use your gift, when and why, and just having a full picture, like, ask yourself, one, is this a good time to do this? Like, is the person that I'm about to share this gift with, are they in a place where they're willing to receive the help that I have to offer? Because if they're not, let it be what it is, right? We can't change everybody if that's not what they want. We're not trying to change anybody in the first place, but we can't influence where people don't want to be influenced. And so being mindful and watchful of, are people actually interested in doing better, and what value can you add if you share? Because if whatever it is that you have to add doesn't actually bring value to the situation, whatever it is, sit on it, hold it, just use it in a different light. That doesn't mean that you don't have it. That doesn't mean that there are times where I'm sitting at a table and I'm like, now I have questions. But is this the time to ask it? Or is this a conversation that I could have offline with somebody else? Or is it even an opportunity where there's not a conversation? I just wait and see how it plays out. And maybe it plays out and the things flush themselves. But just slowing down, identify it, and then slow down before you figure out if it's going to be of any value, and if anybody is actually interested in what you have.
Kind of reading the room. Reading that room.
Read the room.
Yeah. Well, I know you do a lot of work with teams, right? So let's talk about and transition a little bit from just kind of our own awareness, but in collaborating, working with teams, or, different communities we might be a part of. What does it look like to really build a team? Because everybody has those different gifts, right? And I call it a power team, right? That the gifts can be recognized, respected, leveraged, and that everybody's kind of unique piece can be leveraged for this shared thing that we're going for together. What insights do you have on that from your work with teams, and how do we leverage the different gifts that's on the team?
Awareness. Outside of individual awareness of how the rest of your teams go. So if we're looking at it from possibly like a DIS perspective, understanding who are your people who need the information, like bottom line up front, who is the direct person on your team, who is the person that needs all the details, that they're going to be much more conscientious, who is the person that's going to hold the team together, and who's going to break the ice. And then knowing how to strategically move those people on your team. If you got a meeting, you need it to be quick. You need like everybody to do exactly what they said they need to be done. Y'all got 10 minutes. If you have your person that is eye-wired as far as DISC is concerned, which means influential, they might talk for the full 10 minutes, right? Y'all might not get around to anything, but
Look, I'm a high eye, so look, carry on.
There's lots of value, but if you got a 10-minute meeting, if you're not focused as a high eye, y'all, it's going to be a little bit more than 10 minutes. And so truly understanding how to do that. And then same with a conscientious team member. If you know that you have a conscientious team member who is very into the details, they want to make sure that they do it right the first time. Exactly. They're process driven. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it right. It's going to take a minute, but they're going to do it right. Understand that it may take them a minute, and they may not do it as fast as the person who is more dominant, who's just going to say, hey, we need to move this from here to there. The person at C-Wire will get whatever move from here to there, but they're going to find out what the weight is of the product that needs to be moved, what equipment is available to move the product, who do we have on the team that can operate the equipment to get it from point A to point B, instead of the more dominant person who, if it's a box of bricks, they just going to take all the bricks out, move it one by one. They'll get it done, but they're going to get it done differently. And so being able to understand the dynamics of your team, and that's how you can best process whatever it is that y'all have
Yeah.
going on, and even delegate, who to delegate to based on how they are wired.
Yeah. And I think it's like what I'm hearing too in your comments is that like different doesn't mean worse or doesn't mean better, right? It just means different. And can we make space for when people have different gifts or do things differently than us, if it's still going to get us to that same end goal? Can we have some space and some compassion and some empathy around, really honoring and respecting people contribute and how they do it, which might be a little different than you. And sometimes hard for leaders. Like they like, this is the way that we do it and you doing it differently. So is that wrong? Now, not to say there are, sometimes where there might be a more efficient way given resources, time constraints, things of the sort. But a lot of times I see it a lot of times with leaders who are delegating, uh, delegating is really around you setting the frame and then letting people do their thing in there. It doesn't necessarily mean you got to tell them every single step. And some leaders struggle with that. So I'm hearing you say, we need to respect people might do things differently, come with different gifts, but if it's all moving towards that same direction, how do we create space?
Absolutely.
That's good. Okay, that's good. That's good. I want to transition in a second and talk about some of our season theme questions, but I want to just talk about boundaries.
Oof.
Okay. We have a lot of Black women who carry a lot of invisible labor in their teams, and not just in their teams, in their communities, in their families, in the church, wherever they serving, right? And so there is this line around boundaries, and I see this a lot of how people might be very clear on their gifts and using them and helping people with them, but it gets to a point where they're overextended or they're taken advantage of or it's exploited because people know you're going to do it and that's what you do, and you tired and burnt out, right? So how can we use those gifts without becoming overextended? Like, what's the boundaries kind of exercise here with this?
Priorities. What are your priorities? Set your
Yeah.
priorities. For me, first and foremost, it is my family. It is my child. My team knows that we have to be somewhere every morning at a certain time. Depending on, like, there'll be days where I bring my child. There'll be days where I don't come because I am with my child. And we are very clear, very clear that is that. And I think that once you are clear on what those boundaries look like for you, is when you can start to enforce them. But you have to prioritize. For me, being a mother, like I will be working for, I just want to say forever. There's different ways of work though, so I'm not necessarily,
Right.
y'all know what I mean.
Yeah.
But there's a small window that I have to be a present mom, and that is my priority. And so anything that kind of comes up against that is where I have to look at the line and say, nope, not available. Not going to be there. Not going to do it, because that priority is that priority. And I think when it comes to when you're using your gifts, like if it comes to a point where you are realizing that you are drained out and you're not able to rest, but when you get to a place where it's actually draining you and it's no longer giving you joy, is where you got to stop and say, okay, wait, what are my priorities and how am I using those priorities? Because again, going to the example with my child being where she needs to be, whether she's going to be with me or she's going to be at daycare at a certain time, like the impact of her waking up at 4:00 in the morning, it didn't sit well with me if she's at daycare until almost 6:00 at night. And so now it's infringing upon my ability to show up as the mom that I want to show up as. And so those boundaries are things that I had to put in place so that I'm not overextending. So if it compromises the character that you see yourself having, whether that's the person that you are now or the person that you see yourself as in the future, that's a place where I would look at what those boundaries are, if there are boundaries. And if there are boundaries, maybe they need to be adjusted to the left or the right. But just kind of understanding where you are and how using that gift is impacting those around you as well.
Yeah. So it sounds like in addition to the boundaries exercise is also kind of a values alignment, right? What is my value right now in this season? And how do I make sure that I'm making space for that value to be honored and respected? Yeah, I love that. So we're going to transition to some of our season 8 theme questions in just a second. But anything else you want to say on this topic of kind of embracing your gifts for leaders, for those that are listening?
Absolutely. The reality is we're all out here to do the best that we can, to live abundant lives,
Yeah.
and to serve others, to lead ourselves. And the best way that we can do that is by being true to who we are and how we were created to be.
Yeah.
And it does take a little bit of work to figure out who that is and how it is, especially when we are on social media and we're seeing all the great things that everybody else is doing. But I really just
Yeah.
want to encourage everybody just to pause and just take a moment and say, well, who am I? Who am I created to be? Who do I want to be that I maybe not able to show up as right now? And how does that mirror who I think I was created to be? And once we could like sit in that space, we can really own who we are. And there's nothing like being able to show up as yourself in every room that you walk into,
Yeah.
because people also can't question you and the things that you say or the things that you do. Your character is your character, right? And so when we really get in touch with who we are as a character in the grand scheme of things, I think is where we're able to actually experience the most abundance by just being who we were
Yeah.
created to be.
I love that. And I think that trickles in very nicely. Our season 8 theme is about leaning into joy, right? And creating really these intentional opportunities to experience more joy in our lives. As you think about, your career journey, what does leading with joy look like for you in this stage of your life and of your career?
In this stage, it looks like being at work yesterday and asking what's on the calendar for today and being like, all right, well, I'm gonna take off tomorrow.
Flexibility,
and
yes.
being at home all day today. So for
Yeah,
me, this is joy because I'm still seeing like the team chats and like I call to check in and everything's fine. And so for me, that's joy, being able to kind of exist as Alanna on a random Thursday, because Alanna needs to be able to have this space
yeah,
and everything else still going exactly how it's supposed to, as if I was there. And so
yeah.
that's what it looks like for me right now.
I, I love that. I love that. What about, I feel like joy, different seasons of life, right? Our definition of that changes. But have you ever had to relearn joy after a difficult
Yes.
season? What did that process look like
Oh,
for you?
okay. Not taking things for granted is what it looks
Mm,
like. There there have been some challenges. So I guess shortly after getting married, my husband was in like a big motorcycle accident, and
mm,
being able to really slow down. So there was
yeah,
a caregiver phase where we had to walk through with lots of bandages and like all of those things. And the reality is that was also during like the COVID time. And so I'm like in the middle of a phone call. The job I was in at the time was kind of like, it was an executive officer position. And so I'm kind of like running all of the meetings, but I'm also like doing all this different things because, okay, well, it's time for medications. Okay, well, it's time for like bandages to be
yeah,
changed out and stuff like that. And really finding joy in being past that season, right? Well, there's joy in being able to be there in that season, being present, right?
yeah,
But afterwards, understanding that the little things, like not being afraid of him getting on a motorcycle anymore, because I understand that this is
yeah,
like what gives him joy, to be able to be out and take a ride and to get on a motorcycle with him.
yeah.
After that, that was
Wow.
nerve-wracking. Um,
Yeah,
but being present in the moment and understanding that this is all we have, and to embrace
yeah,
it and have a good time while we're out here. So that was
yeah. Sounds like surrender a
oh,
little bit
absolutely,
too. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes, yeah, because it's like you can't control
Right.
it, right? You can live in fear. You can live in fear. I mean, we can be cautious, of
Absolutely.
course, but you can live in fear, or you can surrender and say, "We got to live,
Absolutely.
our life
So
too."
when you said
Yeah.
that, like it was,
Well, we're glad that brother's
oh,
doing
absolutely.
better.
Thank you. Thank you. When you said surrender,
Yes.
I was like, absolutely, because I'm on the back of a motorcycle, like just holding on. Like ain't no control back here.
Listen. Holding on for
Right.
dear life, right? I love it. I love it. What's one thing, like an activity, practice, something you're doing these days besides calling out for work today? But a activity or practice that you're doing these days that is really bringing you joy, and how do you intentionally create space for that thing?
Romanticizing the small things. The small things.
Yeah.
If I think the day I talked to you, I think that day I had put my water in like a nice little wine glass. And so just the small
Okay.
things, making sure that I'm intentionally playing Christmas music because of the season. Like, well, I know Christmas will be
Yeah.
gone by the time y'all hear this, but just the little things and like reminding
Yeah.
myself, oh, nope, don't put on our natural, like every night music. Like I have to put on Luther Vandross Christmas because that's where we are, right?
Okay, you like that's your
Yeah, like
thing. That's your
just
thing,
making
right?
sure that I'm plugging those little things in, and then just regular enjoyment of life, like experiences, and understanding that like with my daughter, like this is her childhood, so we're gonna make it good. And so
Yeah.
our practice is okay, well,
Yeah.
whatever it is that she's doing, I'm doing it, and we're doing it full out.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. And those little things add up and create our experience,
Absolutely.
right? Create our life,
Yeah.
right? I love it. This has been great talking to
Likewise.
you. Thank you for sharing your insights on the topic. How can people connect with you beyond the podcast, and anything special you have going on that people should know about?
Absolutely. And this has been a blast. Thank you so much. I appreciate you opening up this space. I am
Mhm.
most active right now on Instagram. So on Instagram, it's the Alanna Thomas. That's where I share the majority of the things that's going on. I'm also on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is mostly my Army full time stuff. So if you're interested in any of that, that's where
Mhm.
I talk more in that space. And yeah, that's where I can be found right now. Interesting things that I have going on. I'm working on a 6-week boot camp, leadership boot camp, and this
Awesome.
is kind of like a
Awesome.
soft intro to that self-awareness space. Starting with self-awareness and then moving into like some of the team development type things. But that's
Okay.
something that we're working on as well.
Wonderful. Well, we'll have all the links for connecting with Alana and learning about her work in the show notes. Well, thank you all so much for listening today. If you found this episode valuable, share this with your community, share it with your network, your friends, your family, your colleagues. We are available on all podcast streaming platforms, and you can also watch our episodes on the Black Woman Leading YouTube page as well. If you want to connect with us on socials, we're at Black Woman Leading, and woman is singular, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you'd like to connect with me personally, I am at Laura E. Knights. You can find me most active on LinkedIn, and I'm also active on Instagram as well. And then finally, if you'd like to learn about our work we do inside of organizations to help them build better leaders and better teams, you can check out our corporate site at niceknsultinggroup.com. We love to connect with you in any of these ways. And until next time, be well.